Well, I'm a psychology professor at Union College in Schenectady, New York, and I am also co-director of the neuroscience program here. Psychology and neuroscience are two of the biggest majors at Union College. And before I became a professor here for a long time, I was a research associate and a lecturer at Harvard University, and I got my PhD in psychology there before that. My background before psychology was actually in computer science. I was an undergraduate computer science major, and I kind of moved from computer science into psychology. So oddly enough, I'm a psychology professor, and I only ever took 5 psychology courses as an undergraduate. Never took introductory psychology, never took abnormal psychology, never took social psychology, but tried to catch up. Tried to catch up a little later on.
No clinicals, huh?
No. No, I took all the psychology courses I took were cognitive psychology, neural networks, sort of all the cognitive and computer-oriented stuff, and I really sort of got into the field sideways like that because of my interest in things like artificial intelligence and computer programming, computer chess, and so on. I was a graduate student in Steve Koslin's lab at Harvard, and he took a year sabbatical in Paris, I think. And at that same year, Dan Simons came in as a new faculty member. He was an assistant professor in his first year, and his office happened to be around the corner. And I happened to know him a very little bit already because I had met him on his visit when he came to interview for the position. I was one of the graduate students who met him, and I also knew his brother. Coincidentally, his brother was a chess player, and I was a chess player. We knew each other because we had both been playing chess at Harvard before. So Dan and I sort of started talking and got into collaborating, and part of the way we did that was through me being the teaching fellow, that's what we called them then at Harvard, teaching fellows, for his course on doing cognitive psychology experiments for undergraduates. And it was there that we sort of got first started on this research that eventually led to our book and everything else.
What's the origin story of the gorilla? Like, how do you come up with the idea to have a gorilla walk in the middle of a group of kids playing basketball?
Well, so Dan Simons, when he was teaching this course, wanted to have some projects that the whole class could do as a group. And all the psychology research I had done up until then was basically testing individual people in rooms with computers. We were very oriented towards sort of simple visual displays and measuring people's reaction times, how fast they would press keys in response to these displays and so on. Dan wanted to do something a little different. He came from a different tradition at Cornell, and he had the idea of recreating and updating Ulric Neisser's research from the 1970s on what Neisser called selective looking, which was sort of a phrase that went out of style. But Neisser had done this experiment where he had a woman carrying an umbrella walk through a bunch of people throwing basketballs around. And actually it was 3 people throwing basketballs, but he overlaid 2 videos of the same three people throwing basketballs, and then he overlaid a video of this woman with an umbrella. And they all looked like ghosts because he used some technique with mirrors to basically make these 3 overlays. This was the 1970s when you couldn't just shoot digital video and make them transparent and everything that is easy to do now. So Dan knew about this research. I actually didn't even know about it at the time. And Dan suggested that we do that kind of thing as a group project, but with a bunch of students in our class, everybody could be in the same place at the same time. We didn't need to overlay a bunch of ghosts the way Neisser did. So we actually filmed it that way with the people all interacting together. There wasn't any plan to use a gorilla suit from the outset, as far as I know. In fact, we were going to do it just with the woman with an umbrella, which we actually wound up doing. But one of the students who was working on the project, one of the grad students named Steve Most, also worked with Jerry Kagan, who was a developmental psychologist, famous developmental psychologist, who did studies of temperament in infants. And he had all kinds of stuff in his lab that he would use to sort of elicit different reactions and set up different scenarios to see how the infants and children would react. And one of them was a gorilla suit that he had. I guess he had research assistants where, yeah, exactly, yeah,
baby gorilla suit. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, a gorilla suit could be a little bit scary, and I think that was part of the point. And Steve went and borrowed the gorilla suit. I don't know under exactly what circumstances it was borrowed, but it was borrowed long enough for us to use in shooting the videos. And we spent a whole class period, which was I think about an hour and a half, filming all kinds of different versions of this thing. And towards the end, we still had time left, and we had filmed everything we needed to film. Dan was behind the camera, sort of. He was the video guy. He knew how to do video editing and so on. I was more sort of choreographing and directing, making sure people go to the right place and so on. And we had some time left, so we just started doing funny things. And one of the funny things was the gorilla came in and turned to face the camera and thumped its chest. And we just sort of made these videos kind of for fun at the end. But once we had run our main experiment, we had all the students go out and collect the data. And once we had run the main experiment, which just involved the gorilla walking straight through and the umbrella woman walking straight through and leaving, once we had finished that main experiment, we realized, why not just try and see what would happen if we used the thumping video? And in our small sample, no more people noticed the thumping gorilla than had noticed the gorilla just walking through. It was basically the same result, and yet the event was 9 seconds long, this gorilla walking through and thumping its chest. So since that was much funnier than all the other versions, we wound up using that for class demonstrations, and Dan put it on a DVD that people could then buy and use for their own demonstrations and so on. But the only reason there's a gorilla in there that I know of is that there just happened to be a gorilla suit lying around. If it had been a rabbit suit, or it would have been different, or a clown suit or something. Yes, things would have been different if there had been different costumes in someone else's lab. That's how it happened.